feelings for me.
And like these trained shamans down there, incredible wealth of knowledge, and I respect the hell out of them. But there's a cultural difference. Like how are they going to bridge the gap between an American who hates his life because he's working a 9 to 5 and wasting it? It's just this cultural kind of disconnect that's going to be hard to bridge no matter what. And not to rag on like the way of going into a jungle and doing it more, but like there is an influx of people struggling with integration because they go to a different world, really have an experience, and they come back here. And how do you, especially when you're alone, you don't have the shaman anymore, how do you integrate that experience? That's more jarring than just having a psychedelic experience, in the first place. And I see a lot of people that they come back and it's like, okay, that was a transformative experience, spiritual experience. What now?
One of these thoughts was, people describe it as like we get these pathways in our brain laid down, like habits, and they wear a path over time, and it's that much easier to do that behavior over time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then when you have a psychedelic dose, it's like a fresh snowfall. Did you tell me that originally?
I think you told me that.
I think I told both of you that.
Okay.
I love that analogy.
I saw that on an episode of The Mind Explained.
Yeah. Well, I really love that analogy too. But the key thing with that integration you're talking about is once you have that new snowfall, so to speak, is laying down the new tracks, So even probably going into, but even before the trip, you do all this preparatory work, like, in journaling and setting your intention, so that when you come out of it, you've got a trajectory sending you off on a new path as opposed to falling back into old habits, which I'm sure happens with people all the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of people go back right to their same life, and they start creating the same habits, the same pathways that they're just tried to get rid of in a way.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you like you were just saying, if you go out of country and you have an experience, you come back to the same country, the same setting, the same everyday life. How in the heck are you supposed to break that cycle? And the idea that you don't have the shaman to talk to is huge, because these indigenous communities in Peru, for example, the Shipibo communities, they have one shaman. And I think like it may have changed, but I think historically it was only the shaman that would take the psychedelic, and people that had ailments would come to him, and he would take it. He would get some energy exchange. He would
kind of diagnose,
do a little diagnosis, do a little song, something, between them, which is very profound and personal.
They were the mediators between like the spirit,
the spirit world and the human, and it would remedy it, and like that's how they got their popularity. Now what we see is like people like us, for example, although we've never done this, but there are middle American white men or women or anyone from United States that has the means to do it and has an ailment can go down there and take the actual psychedelic, and that's again going to be a very intimate experience. But as soon as you leave, you're losing that connection. And so that's why I think it's so important that we're talking about, like, if we're going to be doing this, personally and autonomously, that we have a support, not only like you were talking about, you have to prepare beforehand, make sure the intention is set, but also have a community of people that are willing to accept you. Because in this world, it's really difficult to have that. Like in this United States, like you said, when you were in high school, when you smoked weed, you immediately thought it was wrong.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're told.
Yeah.
So the whole, like you were saying, the whole paradigm of, drugs and how they're, seen.
Just in how we're living our lives entirely, like the 9 to 5, it goes back to that. Like maybe we ought not to be trying to get the newest gadgets and things, The things you own end up owning you is a great quote.
Yes.
I wanted to
values, how we like choosing our values is so important. Choosing values that are materialistic. They've done studies on it. It provides no boost in happiness. It doesn't. Right. It actually makes you sadder. You know? But if you value human connection, it makes you happier. And to speak on that, just one thing I wanted to say is my psychedelic experience with the 6 grams. I couldn't have planned it any better. I went through the peak of it on my own, but then when I was still in it, I came downstairs and I had my brother there, I had my mom there, I had my dad there, I had my wife came over, my daughter was there, and I felt what the most valuable thing in my life was.
Yeah.
Right there. And I don't know, it was just very nice.
That's profound, I think too, with everything that's gone on in the world in the past year or so, I think everybody is reflecting on what's important to them,
Yeah.
like family and connection, and all these things are what's truly important. I just wanted to say, well, before I forget, I'd watched an interview. I think it was Paul Stamets and Dennis McKenna. I might be wrong, but I think they did a conversation where Dennis McKenna had made a comment about what he would like to see are like these healing centers where people can go and you learn about psychedelics